You found Michigan's retirement coach, Mike Douglas.
When it comes to our vacations, 92% of us believe that if just one thing goes wrong, the entire thing is ruined. You might as well just pack up and go home.
Why did we even come here?
Why did we even bother? Can the same thing be said for our retirement? This is what we are going to unpack today. I'm going full in hard with the vacation puns in this conversation, Mike.
Let's go.
Get on board.
It's time of year. It's seasonal. It's appropriate.
Strap in. Let's go. This is certified financial planner Mike Douglas, also known as Michigan's retirement coach. Michigan'sRetirementCoach.com is where to begin the conversation with Mike and his team at Life Plan Financial Design. So there was this survey. We need to go through some of these numbers and quietly judge the respondents of this survey, first of all.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of bougie people GoCity.com was talking to.
Yeah. It's not mid-Michigan pricing, I can tell you that.
It's not anybody I know pricing. Like, it's Beyonce pricing, okay?
Yep.
When it comes to, it's summertime, as you were saying, it's that time of year, looking towards vacations. Hopefully you got something fun planned. But there was a survey done by GoCity.com. They were asking respondents about their idea of the quote-unquote perfect vacation. So I will say, I don't think this is what these people are actually doing. It's just like the dream vacation. And respondents said the dream, this perfect vacation, it would last 11 days. It's only 3 hours from home. So they don't want to spend their time traveling. They want to spend their time vacationing. And then it's going to cost nearly $9,000 per person. And that's where you hear the record scratch.
Yeah. There's so much stuff about these numbers.
Yeah.
The 11 days, that's
a long vacation.
So up until I think like 2021 is the first time I've taken longer than a week vacation.
Really?
We just never had done it.
Yeah.
2 weeks is a long time. At the end of a week,
you got 4 children. If it was just you and Kimberly relaxing someplace beautiful.
We do. Like, we typically take at least a week to ourselves every year.
Okay.
And at the end of the week, like, I'm ready to get back to work. Like, I'm ready to get back. And again, maybe it's because I'm a routine person and a groove person, but I think a lot of us are.
Also, you like your job. That's a big thing.
I do love my job, and I love what we do. Like, even being home with the kids, like, I love the routine of going to their basketball games or football camps or all the little crap we do with them. But yeah, I feel like 11 days. When we go on vacation at the end of a week, I'm like, let's go. Let's get back to it.
My thing is, I just need to stop eating all the garbage that I've been putting in my body. And it's, dear heaven help me if I do that for 11 days in a row.
Yeah.
I want people to fit in the airplane seat. But here's the other interesting point that this survey found. 92% of respondents says if just one thing goes wrong on a trip, it's enough to ruin everything else. I get it. Maybe if you're going on a road trip and the car breaks down on your way there.
Depends on what the one thing is, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. If somebody gets food poisoning,
there's no air conditioning.
There's no air conditioning. That's the thing. I mean, I get the one thing ruining in the whole thing. That it's valid. However, it's also an applicable thought process for our retirement plan and for the work that you do, Mike, when it comes to what's hopefully going to be 20, 30, 40-year vacation, a.k.a. our retirement. Are there common, quote-unquote, one things that you see that you have found people either doing or that they just some sort of investment style, a thing that's in their plan that could essentially upend their entire retirement?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is that when people come in and we say, let's talk through your retirement plan, they typically come to us and set down account statements.
Okay.
And that's it.
Yep.
And so they say, here's my 401k, here's my IRA, here's my Roth, and this is my retirement plan. Mm-hmm. And I think the confusion of thinking that it's just earn more than you take, and it's as simple as that. Mm-hmm. Without having a comprehensive plan, without understanding taxes, without understanding estate planning, without understanding provisional income limits and Social Security taxes, and without understanding those things and having a comprehensive plan, mm-hmm. That's when it feels like, well, I didn't know about that. Yeah, it's an extra tax you pay. I didn't know about that. Yep, it raised your Medicare premiums. There's all these things that we need to know. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, too many people think walking into retirement is just earn 6% and you'll be fine. Or rule of 4% and you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some elements of that'll be true, but yet a real retirement plan a comprehensive retirement plan, it addresses the issue of taxes. How much are you going to pay in taxes over the balance of your life, and how can we minimize that number? Do we have a good estate plan set up with a will or a trust or a will and trust or ladybird deeds or quick claim deeds or all the different things we need, DPOAs and everything? Have we looked at your investments to figure out how they are invested by tax classification? Mm-hmm. There's all these different pieces. When I take income, when should I take my Social Security? If I get a pension, should I take the survivorship or the single life option? Should I take the lump sum and get my own pension through an annuity, or should I not get an annuity? The income options are really important too. And then also just risk management. When the market's good, how do I participate and enjoy it? When the market's bad, how do I hedge against it and protect it without just jumping to cash? Mm-hmm. Are there investments that can help me make money when the market's good and make me money when the market's bad? Something that's kind of dual directional. There's a lot of good options there that are designed for retirees. And unfortunately, what happens is people walk in and say, here's my Fidelity statement. Yep. Here's my Schwab statement. And that's it. And then
it's like lack of education is maybe the first problem. The lack of awareness, not by these hardworking people's fault, by the fault of the system, and the lack of effort to explain to people. Yeah.
Well, what are the number one reasons, like the top reasons for divorce? Let's start with that.
Okay.
Communication and finances.
Okay.
Studies show it's communication and finances. And typically it's finances first, communication second, but typically there it's like the lack of communication about your finances.
Right.
So if it causes more divorces than any other statistic, that is something that's interesting. Why do we not spend way more time educating and communicating about finances? What a difference it would make potentially in relationships if we came in both fully educated and aware of how finances work.
Yep.
With a life plan structure for the future, even at 25 or 30 years old when you get married, how we're going to invest, how we're going to save, how we're going to spend, an understanding of finances. But yet we still don't educate high schoolers or middle schoolers or anybody on it. We still have generations of people saying, I'm not talking to my kids about finances, and then being surprised when they're done with their money. You know, we have to be educating people on how to deal with finances. If it leads to divorce half the time, then what are we doing? Why aren't we educating on this? So I think that's a frustration. Then on top of that, the higher your savings goes, the higher the stakes are, right? Like if I got $50 and I lose half my money, not a big deal. If I have $5 million and I lose half my money, that's a deal. And so the more you save, the higher the stakes are. And at the same time, typically you didn't get there because you're so good at finances. A lot of people that we come across, they're really wealthy because they're really good at other stuff and just saved.
Yep.
And just threw it in the 401k or threw it in the savings account. And they need help to understand, when I take from here, here's how it's taxed. When I take from here, it's going to cause taxes over here. And how it all works when it passes on to my kids. Do they have to pay taxes when they inherit it? Can I avoid taxes, hide from taxes, whatever you want to call it? There's a lot of strategy involved. And that all comes from a comprehensive plan. And we always say that it's the five-headed beast of retirement, right? We need to cover income, investments, taxes, risk, and estate planning.
Okay.
That all should be encompassed in one plan. And not just saying, hey, should I have a Roth IRA? Sure. It's tax-free money. How much? Whatever you feel like. That's not a good enough answer.
Right.
We need a comprehensive plan. And so what is the one thing, going back to our thing about the vacations?
Yeah.
Like, what is the missing piece, or what could derail the whole thing? Not correlating all these different things into one strategy.
Okay.
You wouldn't coach. I coach, I'm coaching my son Gavin's basketball team. And when we install an inbound play, right, I don't teach it just to Gavin. And I don't say, Gavin, do this. And then don't tell the other four players what to do. I tell them all what to do. And what I do is I get our board out and I draw it up. Here's the hoop. Here's where the inbounder. Here's where all the guys are going to stand. And here's what each and every one of you is going to do. And if we all do our part and work together, here's how we get hopefully an open layup. That's how we draw it up. When we do stuff with football or anything else, we try to coordinate all of these different pieces together. Why? Because if we all do our part, then we should score, then we should win, then we should be successful. And yet in finances, we silo things and we say, oh, well, I've got an investment guy over here. I got a tax guy over here. I got an estate planning lady over there.
Yep.
I got and then I have to go talk to someone else about my Medicare benefits and all these different things. And we silo them and then don't have a clue that one can affect the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a frustrating thing. I had someone who came in and she had an estate. She sold a cottage that she had had for years.
Yeah.
And she had already sold it before we met.
Okay.
And so she said to me, well, I sold this cottage at a gain and I have to pay $30,000 in taxes. So there's nothing I can do about that. So you need to factor that in my plan. Well, then we went through her investments and we found some losses that we could sell to offset it. She paid nothing in taxes.
Really?
And all the while, she had a financial advisor and a CPA who worked in the same building, but not for the same company, not on the same team. But they literally were across the hall from each other.
Got it.
And they were not talking.
Got it.
And unless she took the reins to become the CFO of her family.
And suddenly
right,
at age 60 something, just acquire all of the knowledge that is a literal education.
Yeah. And really, and all she was saying was, well, the only way to avoid taxes on real estate that you sell is to buy more real estate. I say that's not true.
Okay.
There are strategies. You build a company and sell it. There are strategies to avoid taxes. You have a rental that you're selling and there are ways to avoid taxes, but it's about individual situations and understanding how they affect each other. We sold mutual funds to offset the real estate and she didn't pay any taxes.
Wow.
There are strategies to protect and strategies to preserve. So the problem is when we just silo my investments, my taxes, my estate planning, my Medicare, all the stuff, we're not connecting the dots.
Yeah.
And we're not allowing the professionals to be connected.
Okay.
So I think the plan needs to cover all of it and understand how it's there's this connective tissue. It's related. And so how much you earn in the market is a good number to know. How much you need to pull from your investments is a good number to know. What is my after-tax return on my investments is a good thing to know. And so, again, there's a lot of stuff here that goes into it. But if you can just walk out of a meeting with your financial team that is under one roof, one plan, one structure, and you can sit down at one conference table and in that hour to hour and a half, make sure that your income is inflation adjusted and appropriate for how much you want. Your investments are appropriate. Your risk is appropriate. Your tax strategy is in place and your tax returns are being handled. Your estate plan is in place and being handled. It's a much better place to be from a peace of mind standpoint and knowing that nothing's slipping through the cracks because nobody's talking to each other.
Right.
That's why we do it the way we do it.
But is that the difference, though, of what you do because you're a certified financial planner? Because I think that perhaps somebody listening to this podcast might say, well, my CPA told me that they can't do X, Y, and Z, or my financial advisor told me that they can't do tax planning X, Y, and Z. So I'm trying to go back and forth. What's the difference between how is it that you are able to do all these things?
So that client who I was telling you about who sold the real estate,
yeah,
she went to her CPA after I gave the recommendation. Like, she wasn't even a client. I gave the recommendation. You should go ask your CPA this.
Yeah.
And so she goes to the CPA and says, hey, I heard from somebody that if I sell these mutual funds, it'll offset the gains and I won't pay any taxes. Is that correct? And he said, yes, if the gain's this, then that math lines up and it's correct. She said, so do you think I should sell the mutual funds? And he says, I can't give you that advice. I'm a CPA. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed to. I can't give you that advice. Mm-hmm. She goes across the hall to the financial advisor. And the financial advisor, she says, hey, I've got these mutual funds. They're here to loss. I've been told by the CPA and by someone else that if I sell it, it'll offset these. Should I sell the mutual fund? And he was like, well, you don't really want to sell things at a loss because you're locking in a loss. She says, right, but I'm saving $30,000 in taxes. So in a whole net worth perspective, it's a really good play. She says, from a tax perspective, should I sell these mutual funds? And he said, well, I can talk to you about the mutual funds, but I can't give you a tax perspective because I'm not licensed to talk about taxes.
Okay.
Even in the world of CFPs, certified financial planners, we are educated on it. We do it. But a lot of times, once you pass a test, you go into a silo.
Okay.
My firm does this. My firm does that. And they don't tend to cross over.
Right.
And again, it's not anybody's fault. It's just like, if you say, I learned how to work on all cars. I become a general mechanic. I go through mechanic school. I get it all figured out. And then you go work at Ford. You become really, really, really smart at Ford. Mm-hmm. but you just don't exactly know what Toyota's doing or what Honda's doing or what Chevy's doing, right? You got an idea because you see them on the road or whatever else, but you don't actually know how to program the boards and how to do everything because cars are mostly electronic now, right? So you don't know how it works because you get siloed into the Ford category. Financial advisors are the same way. If you go work for a big box firm, you go work for Ameriprise, Morgan Stanley, whatever else, they're going to be really specific, Edward Jones, because they're going to say, you work for us. Here is what we do. Here's what we're really good at, what we're successful at.
Even if you're a CFP.
Even if you're a CFP.
Okay.
And so then you're going to say, well, can I give tax advice? We don't give tax advice here. You need to tell them that. Okay. So then when you meet with them, oh, I'm a CFP. Great. So you know about taxes? I do know. I'm not allowed to give you tax advice. So what we've done is at LifePlan, we've built an independent firm that we aren't part of the big box companies, but at the same time, we cover all of this. We have a tax company inside of our company. We have a estate planning company inside of our company. We are working with Medicare companies. We're doing all these things. Why? To allow our clients to have the full services, so the full suite of services that can be provided and need to be covered without running all over Michigan to find the people. That's why we set it up this way, to provide that. And so CFP, Certified Financial Planner, yes, you are tested. When you go through your testing and your licensing, you cover estate planning, you cover taxes, you cover all these things. But then sometimes we do get siloed into certain industries just because it's who we work for. And they say, well, we don't do that here. Okay, cool. Well, then you naturally don't stay quite as up on the innovative and relevant and new strategies because you just don't deal with that anymore.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But even when someone says CFP, say, okay, great. You're a CFP. I appreciate that. That means at one point you took the test and knew everything there was to know about this stuff the best you can. Do you still cover all these areas? And if not, that's okay. They're just in a silo and you probably want a plan that covers everything.
Okay. Well, fortunately, if you have questions about getting everything in one place, Mike and his team, they can help at LifePlan Financial Design. As he was pointing out, they like to work to encompass all of the areas that they believe you need to have working harmoniously together in a plan for this next phase of your financial life. So if you're realizing that what you have is not a plan, but instead a bunch of accounts and a bunch of people, perhaps professionals that you have sought advice from over the years, all working not with each other, let's work to bring it all together in a plan. MichigansRetirementCoach.com is our website and where you can start the conversation with Mike and his team. We also have links posted in the show notes working to help you get a plan in place and avoid that one big thing that can ruin the whole rest of it by having the plan in place. Again, it's MichigansRetirementCoach.com.
Thanks for listening to Michigan's Retirement Coach with Mike Douglas. To learn more, visit MichigansRetirementCoach.com.
Michael Douglas is an investment advisor representative of Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Michael Douglas is licensed in your state, please call 517-323-7526. Stewards Wealth Planning, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Michael B. Douglas, NPN number 9650939.